Congress has brought in a group of gifted and talented students, is that right? Can we give them teachers, gifted and talented teachers? So thank you. Can we give them a round of applause? So I want to try to close this out and a little bit, at lunch we were kind of trying to give you some information. Right now we're trying to give you kind of the marching orders for the movement. And, I don't know, how many of y'all have ever heard the saying, thank God for Mississippi? You heard that saying? How many of you are sick of that saying? The good news is that on education, we don't have to say that anymore. We used to be there. And in 2002, we had the gift of the Supreme Court ruling in the Lakeview decision that said our school system was unconstitutionally inadequate and unconstitutionally unfair or unequal. And they ordered the legislature to do something about it. And the skies opened and a miracle happened. And Republicans and Democrats in the legislature and the governor's office actually worked together and put together some reforms. Now, we didn't like quite every single one of them, but we liked most of them. And by God, they've been making a difference. And in the past 10 years, Arkansas has had one of the best, fastest improving education systems in the country. And Education Week ranks us number 5 overall in education quality today. Now, this is really inconvenient. And this is inconvenient because nationally there's a very well-financed movement to say public education is failing. Public education can't do it. We need to privatize. We need competition. We need to do all of these other strategies. And it's really an assault on public education. And they've used the Arkansas that existed before 2002 as their whipping boy poster child of why their movement has legs. But their movement hasn't penetrated Arkansas. Why? Because we've actually been making progress. Well, this past year, we've seen a concerted effort of this movement to come to Arkansas. And they've been sending out flyers across the state saying that Arkansas's education system is failing. And they've seized on one point out of the education quality data that says Arkansas overall scores a D. And that's true. We have a long ways to go. What they don't mention is that we're near the top in several indicators of where progress is heading. And what they don't mention is that the national average is only a C. So the third part they don't advertise, though, is that the solutions that they propose have very little data to back them up and, frankly, have very shoddy track records where they've been tried. And the reality is the investments that this state has made, that you all have made as taxpayers and as voters and as legislators, the investments that we've made together have been making progress. It is working. Now, every one of you that's a parent or a kid in a school today, or a teacher or an educator, or just a community member knows that we're not there yet, right? We got a long ways to climb. But when you're climbing up a mountain, if you got a choice of 3 things, someone wants to offer you door number 3. You're not sure what's behind it, but trust us, it's better than what you got. Come on through. Someone gives you a lead weight, or someone offers you a proven rope with data behind it that we know works, we know will help you to the top of that mountain right now if you start using it. Which one do you want? Right now to this movement. And our counter is what's on this green panel right here. These are the proven ropes that are going to help. We know that these are going to help improve Arkansas's education system. There's no question about it. We know that you all involved with these things, if you all go home and actually engage in your schools, as students and as parents and as community members, and you push for these things locally while we're pushing for them together here at the legislature, man, we're going to knock this out of the park. It's not that we know it's going to work, it's going to fly. So I want you to just look at these things. I want you to think about which of these things you would disagree with. Which one of these things do you think you would take mystery door number 3 over this? Okay, let's look at number 1 here. Improving development and preparation of teachers. Now, this other movement is advertising we don't need teacher development. We need to relax the standards on improving teachers. And that we need to allow teachers with very little training or qualifications in. That's not the way we view. We view the data that says that one of the most effective ways to improve student learning is to put a highly qualified, skilled teacher who culturally relates to that student in that class. That's what we need to focus on, not this other strategy. Look at number 2 here. How many would disagree with this? We need to encourage more parent, student, community, and school partnerships. Sounds like a terrible idea, right? Now, the alternative to this are, to some of the charter schools, they eliminate your school board. There's some trigger laws that are called trigger laws where parents elect, they get so frustrated with their local school district, which I totally get, but they elect instead to replace it with a charter. What they're also doing is electing to abolish their school board and any local accountability system with that school. So we know that doesn't work. But what do we know does work? Again, look at the data. What we know works is that schools that have high quality, genuine parent and student engagement do better. They do better for the kids just by even trying, whether they achieve anything or not, and then the policies that they're able to enact accelerate that benefit. So that's what we need to do, and we need help here, because the schools and the communities and the parents have looked at each other as adversaries. I didn't go to school. We've looked at each other as adversaries for too long, and we can't afford that. To get to this next level, we need to work together like we've never worked together before. And we need all of your help to do it, as educators, as parents, as community members. So I want you to look at this next thing, expanding effective after-school and summer programs. Well, that would be a big waste of money, wouldn't it? There's tax cut bills proposed in this legislature right now that would guarantee that this state could never afford to implement this solution. Never. But we know this works. We know this works tomorrow if we implement it. Again, the data is unbelievably clear, so we need to implement this. We need to work on the funding to do it and the political will to do it. Look at this next thing. Increase access to quality pre-K programs. I've actually heard this called a waste of money. I have. Again, but look at where the data is. That's a nice sentiment and a good rhetoric. It made a good quote in the newspaper. But the reality is that quality pre-K programs are the single most effective way to close the achievement gap for low-income kids. This isn't a theory. We know this. There's data from state after state after state, and Arkansas has made strides at being one of the leaders in the country in this. You don't have to say, thank God for Mississippi. You can say, the rest of America, look at us. Because we're actually leading after Lakeview on this issue. We know this works. Look at the next thing here. Improve access to higher education by passing the DREAM Act and making college more affordable. To care and to work hard in school when they know there's a glass ceiling at the 12th grade. How are you going to do that? And whether that glass ceiling is there because they're undocumented because of a choice their parents made, or whether that glass ceiling is there because they're from a low-income family. How can you ask a kid to work hard, try to make it up out of it, and make it in the American system when they know that glass ceiling's there at the 12th grade? We have to eliminate it. We just can't eliminate it for some folks. We need to eliminate it for everybody, and that's why this is one of our priorities. And lastly, more effective and fair discipline policies. Again, we know, look at the data. Advocates, again, just released a report that Jerry authored that kids of color are disciplined far more often than white kids in school. Kids of color are suspended far more often than kids in school, and we know that kids that are suspended are much more likely to drop out and much more likely to see their grades suffer. Now, why that is, we could probably argue and argue and argue, and to some degree it's irrelevant. The reality is, what do we do about it? We need to change our discipline policies. We need more fair and effective practices. It's not that we don't need discipline. We need discipline. But we need solutions that keep kids in school, keep kids learning, and actually solve the challenges that those kids are having that got them in those positions to begin with. Just locking them up, throwing away the key ain't going to do anything. And I just use the word ain't, I'm sorry. So again, we know it works. We know suspending kids doesn't work. We know it doesn't work. We know it ends up to kids incarcerated after they get out of school. We know that. So why aren't we doing something about it? So your charge is to help us do something about it. Your charge is to go home and keep working in your schools. There's things not on this list that you all are either thinking about or going to develop in your community that you think will work where you are. And we need to support each other in doing that. We know that school reforms at two levels. There's the local school board. A lot of these solutions your school district can do tomorrow. They have enough flexible funding, and some of the superintendents might not like to hear me say that, that you can do some of these things tomorrow if you agitated with your school board, if you were organized and you approached them. There's other of these things that are going to take legislation at the state level. We can do this, but we have to do it together. We need you to stay involved. This is not the end. This is the beginning. This other campaign says that Arkansas, that public education is failing, and that we need this other radical route. They're going to keep coming. They're going to keep coming with 20 times more money than any of us have together. But what we have is each other. We need to stick together. We need to keep working. You all are awe-inspiring. This has been an amazing day for the staff. You are, it's just, I mean, it gives me goosebumps just looking out at you. So you all are the future of this state. Education is the future of the state. You are the future of education. Our kids need us. The kids that are here now, they need all of us. We need you. and the kid's not here yet, like my son that was just born 3 days ago. We need to improve the school system in this state. We are not at the bottom. We don't have to say thank God for Mississippi. We can hold our heads high, but we know we have a lot of work to do, and I want to thank all of you one more time.